Tropical development chances continue to go higher, and some areas that were in a drought could actually see some flooding rain potential this week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Good to see you on this Sunday afternoon. I hope you've had a great weekend so far. Coming up in this video, we have two areas of potential tropical development. One of them very likely to develop later on this week. Watching a tropical wave through the eastern Caribbean right now and some potential flooding rains for portions of Central America and other areas. So a lot to get into in this video. As we do so, I always appreciate your support with me here at Meteo Mundo. Thank you for hitting that like button right now. While you're down there, let me know where you're viewing from and what the weather has been like. Let's get into the story right now. Again, it's going to be a very active forecast for our areas in the Western Caribbean, Southwest Gulf of Mexico, and Central America. We still have our Central American gyre. We can clearly see the spin associated with that. We have a new invest in the Eastern Pacific, and then a high likelihood that this area that's developing right over Belize right now, moving into the Southwest Gulf of Mexico, will become a tropical disturbance of some kind as we push into midweek. But in the here and now, we can just still see how water loaded the atmosphere is. And we are seeing a lot of rain across this area again on this Sunday afternoon. So we're going to go area by area, but we'll start with what's happening right now in Belize and the northern sides of Honduras. First of all, it's been a huge flare-up of rain through most of Belize and the Yucatan right now, from Orange Walk, San Ignacio, Belmopan, Dangriga, Belize City, San Pedro, all with some rain. And believe it or not, as dry as this area has been, now they're getting a lot of rain in a short amount of time. It's actually led to the potential for some flooding, especially in the northern and interior sections of Belize. You live in Belize, let me know how it's going, but obviously we have turned the tables here, and I've talked about the rain that you're going to see, and this wet pattern is going to continue for the rest of the week. It's obviously great to help the drought, but we are getting a lot of rain in a short amount of time. Now back off to the areas to the south. It's still a little bit more scattered today, but overall this is going to be an area that we're going to be monitoring for some excessive rainfall, especially along the Pacific coastline of Central America. But for the Caribbean side, we'll continue to see scattered showers and storms move in. Notice how they're not really moving much right now as well. This moisture is deep into the Northwest Caribbean as well. Good rain today for Grand Cayman. It's been a little bit spottier towards Little Cayman, but Georgetown with some downpours. You can see the lightning strikes live here on Meteo Mundo. And then back off a little bit more to the east, we're seeing spotty rain move back over portions of Jamaica right now. It's been a little bit drier, but we are seeing that rain begin to come back in. And my friends in Jamaica, you're going to have that opportunity again. Ocho Rios, Old Harbor, Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Mandeville, Montego Bay, Negril, on over towards Savannah Lamar, there in Hanover and Westmoreland parishes, Port Antonio out towards the east. Look, we're going to see some scattered showers and some tropical downpours, maybe even a little bit of lightning. Again, you're on the eastern periphery of where we have the deeper moisture, but you're in it. And there's no doubt that you're going to continue to see some scattered showers there. Now, we've actually had some decent rain develop today through portions of Hispaniola, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Here's the situation. There's a weak and broad tropical wave moving through these areas as we speak, and it has prompted a few thunderstorms this afternoon. We can see that from Santiago de los Caballeros, Samana, Santo Domingo, on over towards Punta Cana. Scattered in nature, nothing extremely concentrated, but obviously it's going to be helping out the temperatures here for us. And again, on this Sunday afternoon, when it's not raining, it's egregiously hot outside. Take a look at Samana's feels like temperature. It pops on at 121 for a time. At least it's dropped off some. So excruciatingly hot when we haven't had the rain. We've had a few showers also try and develop in portions of the Turks and the Caicos as well, but it's mainly been a little bit drier day there. Now you get into Puerto Rico, and again, it's the same situation. We have some moisture actually coming in from the south. There's a southeast surface wind that's helping to bring a confluence of these moisture and wind together to provide just enough lift in the atmosphere to provide some showers for today. We'll take it. Storms have been developing in this area. As a matter of fact, I'll switch on over to the next radar here. We'll take a look at that. So let me get off the satellite data. Let me bring on the next radar here. It might take me just 1 second to pull it up here. Give me just 1 second, guys. Let's zoom in a little bit here and then bring up our radar sites. Stick with me. Uh-oh. Come on. There you are. Boom. That wasn't the smoothest transition, I'm not going to lie, but there you go. So this is the live radar here out of southeast sides of Puerto Rico. First of all, earlier this afternoon, we had heavier rain in the central portion of the island. It's a little bit more concentrated now on the northeast sides, but you can see that near Carolina and the San Juan areas, Fajardo, close to a few showers there. We've had spotty rain through portions of the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands as well. You can see some of those elongated north to east showers, some of that right over St. Croix as we speak. Christian said getting some rain coming down. And again, we'll take the scattered showers in this area, St. Thomas, St. John, Tortola, Roadtown areas there. Again, it's spottier in nature here compared to out in the Dominican Republic, but at least that opportunity is there for today. Now we'll go back out to the broad view, go back and then to our friends in the northern side of the Leeward Islands, where again, there's a bit of moisture coming in. We're fighting some Saharan dust, so there's not a ton of rain out there right now, but the opportunity is going to be there the remainder of the afternoon hours for a few spotty showers. And again, when it's not raining, it's exceptionally hot. St. Martin's feels like temperature hit 110, but again, we've got the opportunity for some passing showers. Now in the Leeward Islands, the rain is moving from the northeast to the southwest. We've had a couple drift over Antigua and Montserrat. Guadeloupe looks to be dry there right now. Dominica, Martinique has been dry. It's baking in St. Lucia. Barbados, there is some moisture just off towards your south. Some of that will try and lift across the island late on this Sunday afternoon and into the early evening hours. We're dry St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Grenada dry so far, but we have had a good blow up of showers and storms through portions of Trinidad and Tobago. Some good downpours there. You know, again, it's still isolated in locales, but it's good to see some of that heavier rain developing. And again, that moisture axis is kind of elongated right now from southwest to northeast. I've mentioned it here in the past several videos. We've got 1 weak tropical wave moving through right now, a secondary one on the board, but it's fighting the Saharan dust. And so even though these tropical waves look relatively impressive right now, they're actually not going to bring a ton of rain to the Lesser Antilles, as that Saharan dust is on the heels of the tropical wave coming in early next week. So we'll look more about that in a minute. Few storms developing right now in the northeast sides of South America, including Suriname and Guyana. We're dry for my friends in the ABC Islands as well, unfortunately, here. And again, back over to Central America, just to kind of put a pin on this. Look at the storms developing to the north here. We'll follow up towards Cancun and Cozumel. Extremely, extremely wet. And again, you would expect that as this potential development low begins to get a little bit closer to the Gulf of Mexico. Scattered storms through portions of Cuba right now. And then my friends in the Bahamas, we have this huge yellow area because this is the next spot to see some potential tropical development, and we'll get more into that in a second. At this point in time, though, it's a relatively lovely day. Let me get rid of that formation area just to be able to show you a little bit clearer here. Going to throw on our radar and loop that up for you here. Generally fair weather for today. An isolated shower is absolutely possible, but generally speaking, it will be mid to late week that we're going to have to watch the opportunity for more rain and storms to come in. Now, we had some of that heftier activity, obviously, at the end of this week. Let me show you some video I got from Seb Bethel in the Abaco area here. This was from Friday, and you can see that the yard is flooded. It was coming down really hard there in Abaco. Seb, I appreciate you sending me that video, and again, great to show it to you. I'm happy to pass it along here at Meteo Mundo. If you would like Seb did, to send me a picture or a video, easiest way is mymeteamundo@gmail.com. While you're looking across our social media platforms, we're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook as well. You can follow us there for the latest updates, including, of course, right here at YouTube. If you're watching this, I obviously appreciate you hitting that like button. And if you're not a subscriber yet to Meteo Mundo, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. Okay, so now we're going to get into the overall forecast here. And obviously, because we have two areas of potential development this week, we're going to focus on that first, and then we'll get into the rest rest of the week's forecast as well. So you're looking at the GFS model. And we're going to throw this into motion, and we're just going to take this kind of area by area right here. So the first thing I want to talk about is what potentially is going to be happening in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. You notice that the area is now red. The National Hurricane Center has this as a 70% chance of development. On the GFS model, you can see that spin beginning to develop here as we get towards midweek. And a lot of this heavier rain drives into portions of North Mexico and then towards the Texas and generally speaking the northern Gulf Coast states, but certainly Texas and into Mexico. So the general movement of this is going to be west-northwest. But again, 70% chance to get at least a tropical depression out of this. Now, the other key factor is this is just one spin in that much larger Central American gyre, okay? I want you again to notice how wet it is going to be. We're going to go from talking about some big time drought and extremely hot conditions in Central America and the Yucatan to some potential flooding as we go through the week, especially along the Pacific coastline where they could see feet of rain. I'm talking about 3-4+ feet of rain along the Pacific coast of Central America. Not as egregiously high along the Caribbean side, but it's something to monitor. Again, you went from Belize having absolutely no rain to actually having some flood issues in North Belize today. And we're going to build on that rain. Obviously, most of this rain is beneficial, but getting a lot of it at one point in time could certainly be a problem. Now, on the eastern side of this, it's going to stay wet for the Cayman Islands and Jamaica as well. We're going to get more tropical moisture spinning in on the eastern side. So for Kingston and Negril and Georgetown, relatively high rain chances as well. We're going to look at the wind profiles coming up, but while we have the reflectivity on from the GFS, let's talk about what could be happening here. A broad and in general weaker area of low pressure could potentially develop a few hundred miles east of the central Bahamas over the midweek hours and then spin up a, again, relatively weak system that moves through the central and the northern Bahamas as we get into Wednesday into Thursday and then crossing the Florida Peninsula and into the northeast Gulf of Mexico after that. So 20% chance from the Hurricane Center right now. All models point to at least a weak closed low. It's a fast moving progressive system. That's good news. So as far as talking about dumping too much rain at one time, doesn't look to be the case, but this is kind of the first look at this potential area and something I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on. Let's switch over to the wind gust product here. And again, still the same model. So now we're going to be looking at what the winds are going to look like in both of these areas. I'm going to take off the formation zones because it's just a little bit easier to see this. So again, looking at the GFS model, we can start to see as we get into a little bit later in the week. So today's the 16th. As we get into tomorrow, but especially on Tuesday, we'll start to see a spin up. That's going to be early on Tuesday morning. And again, the progression is going to be kind of west to northwest. On the GFS model, strongest winds are going to be in the northern side towards the Texas coastline, but Mexico gets hit a bit. The bottom line is this system is not going to last long because the progression is to go back inland into either northern Mexico or South Texas. So it's not going to have a lot of time to develop, but we could get a tropical depression, maybe even a weak tropical storm. First named storm of the season is going to be Alberto, but you can easily see that twist in the void right there. That's where the center of circulation is on the GFS model. We'll look at the NAM model as well coming up. Now back over to the Bahamas, and again, same scenario. What do the winds look like? Well, it's a much kind of broader wind field until we get into, again, Wednesday and into Thursday. So you can see that this is not as significant of a system, but still could get a closed low out of this. So this is late Wednesday and then early on Thursday. So Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and then into Central Florida as well. Again, first brush from the GFS model, nothing extremely significant out of that. I'll switch over to the NAM model and we'll look at the exact same parameters. So going over to the NAM, we'll look first at reflectivity. I'm going to take this out and then I'll loop that up. Should take just a second for the model to pop on, and then we'll take a look at what this does, and I've got the European model to show you guys as well. So again, I'm not going to get into a lot of particulars here, but it's clear to see that the NAM model also has a very broad spin and the opportunity for something to wrap up in the Bay of Campeche early to midweek. It also drives it north and west into South Texas and portions of Mexico. Might be a little bit farther north in the GFS, a little bit heavier rain up towards Texas, but the same progression plays out there, and it's about the same scenario here on the NAM model as well. Again, you have a much more compact, weaker system trying to traverse west through the central and the northwest Bahamas, especially into the northwest Bahamas. It's about the same time frame, really, maybe slightly slower than the GFS, but certainly the same areas, the far northwest Bahamas. And again, the opportunity to get a tropical depression out of this as it moves into the eastern side of Florida, again, Thursday and into Friday. Let's take a look at the winds out of the out of the NAM model as well. So we'll go over to the wind gusts, loop that product up as well, and take a look at that. We'll start with our Bahamas system. And again, it's more broad. So obviously our friends in the Bahamas need to pay attention. I'll keep you updated every day. Surf and sea conditions are obviously going to go downhill as this system moves in, but it's relatively progressive. Again, it's a little bit slower in time on the NAM model here, where the GFS pulls it through Wednesday into Thursday. As we get into late on, let's see, Wednesday, this is Wednesday night, it's still east of the area, so it's maybe about 12 hours behind, but you can see it's very elongated and lopsided with all the wind on the northern side of whatever center of circulation is going to try and form. Back over to what's going to be happening in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Slightly sloppier system, but it still pulls into circulation, and again, the NAM is going to pull it a little bit further to the north, but still behind this, a lot of wind energy for all of Central America as well. And we'll talk about another system that might be on the heels of this. So that's what it looks like as far as those models. When we look at these wind vectors, again, let me get back over to the GFS here and get back to the wind vectors. And then let's loop this up here over the next few days. Let's see here, we'll go out until Friday, loop that up. I'm going to take the grid spacing and make it just a little bit tighter for us here. So hopefully, let's see. There we go. Might take a second to pop on. I'm going to also take off the formation zones. Again, just a little bit easier to see. So let's zoom back into the northwest side of the Bahamas here. And again, as I get closer, those winds are going to get a little bit tighter. But it's very clear to see the progression of that low. And then we can take a look at the actual wind speeds that it produces out of this. So again, on the GFS model, coming in kind of late Wednesday, early Thursday. When you get to the whites, you do get to around 30 miles an hour. That's the wrong legend up top, so don't worry about that. The winds there are going to be 25 to 30 knots. Very, very small, close center of circulation that might slip right over Walker's Key and Grand Bahama there. So again, get prepared in these areas late Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, I'll keep you updated. Now into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Again, what we're looking at here on this product is how strong are the winds going to be. So it's a little bit stronger winds. We're well over 30 knots on the northern side of this center of circulation. So again, relatively weak winds, obviously near the center, stronger winds on the northern side. It does wrap up a little bit more significantly. And again, the GFS model pushes that into North Mexico. And on the northern side of that, you're going to get it onshore winds. So some potential storm surge issues for Texas with this system as it gets into, let's say, late Tuesday, but especially on Wednesday and potentially Thursday as well. So I think we covered that pretty good. The chance on the European model is about the same scenario, much higher in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, where again a tropical depression or named tropical storm is likely, and then a lower chance for a tropical depression as it moves to the central and the northern sides of the Bahamas. But again, we're up to around a 30% chance, which is basically where we are with the Hurricane Center's input as well. Okay, one factor that could be causing some drier conditions in our western areas, our eastern areas, is going to be that Saharan dust layer. This is the loop over the next 10 days. We're going to have a few tropical waves coming in, but look at some of the Saharan dust that will be back into play. There's the next plume on Tuesday through the Windward Islands. That again is going to limit some of the rain with the next one. And then on the heels of that next weekend and early next week, another big old plume that could be scraping the northern side of the Leeward Islands and portions of the greater Antilles. So that is one factor to limit some of the potential rain in those areas. Let's get back over to the model and then we'll take a look at the island by island outlook for you here rainfall wise. Let me just make sure I got the model all loaded up the way I want it. I do, so let's loop this up. So obviously we've covered our areas here pretty significantly. Let's get back into the rest of the forecast. Now for places like Hispaniola, we're actually going to have a decent chance of rain the next couple of afternoons. Again, there's that elongated weak tropical wave, but we saw the activity this afternoon, and that's possible again for today. Turks and Caicos could get in on the act as well. So we're going to get some spotty showers here, about a 40% chance. It's going to help obviously cut down the heat, but generally speaking, we're also going to see some Saharan dust coming into play. Now, it's the same situation for my friends in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, where I've actually been able to up the rain chance the next couple of days thanks to that weak tropical wave. But we would be talking about better rain chances, again, if we didn't have the Saharan dust coming back in. So that's going to be a factor for us here. But again, still some scattered showers, especially today, tomorrow. Portions of Tuesday should dry out a bit as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Bartholomew, Saba, you're far enough north again where you're going to be in a little bit better chance for passing showers, just like areas to your west. So slightly higher chance for these areas as far south as Montserrat and Guadeloupe. Now you get south of Guadeloupe and you're kind of in between where the deepest moisture is, okay? And you're going to get the Saharan dust. So a little bit lower rain chance, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right on that edge, all right? Where we could have in the middle section of the island chain here, slightly lower rain chances. It should be a little bit higher, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, because again, as this tropical wave is a little bit farther south, the next one that comes in on Tuesday, that should flare up additional moisture in these areas. And you can see that here when I zoom out a little bit. The wave coming in on Tuesday is going to mainly impact South America, but some of the windward islands, especially Trinidad and Tobago, could pick up on that. Look, again, on satellite imagery, the tropical waves look impressive, guys. But if we take a look here at the main development region of the Atlantic, the Saharan dust is really keeping things relatively dry. All right. So although they look impressive on satellite imagery, as they get into the Eastern Caribbean, they're not doing nearly as much. My friends in the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, I wish I could get you a little bit more rain. Again, it's very, very spotty. If you catch a fast-moving downpour with your strong easterly trade winds, again, that's not a bad scenario. Otherwise, again, get ready for the hot and humid conditions. Panama, Costa Rica, look, all of Central America. We're going to look at the rainfall potential coming up. But again, just to point out, it's going to be very heavy. Scattered showers will move over portions of mainly western Cuba. Now, Bermuda is going to be far enough north where it's only a little bit of rain. You're actually kind of in a void here, if you will. The moisture coming in to the Bahamas is going to pull south of you. So not a lot of rain for Bermuda over the next 5 days. Let's break down the island by island rain chance. Again, through Tuesday, there's actually not a lot of rain in the Bahamas. It really won't be entering the picture till late Wednesday or Thursday. Turks and Caicos are relatively dry. Cuba, it's more scattered showers in the afternoon hours. Cayman Islands, we're up to a 60% chance again, just developing in the afternoon, but that rich moisture is still certainly going to be an impact and a factor in your weather for the week ahead. Belize City, Cancun, and Cozumel. How about we couldn't buy some rain over weeks and months? And now we're talking about at least an 80% chance for rain over the next 3 days. But again, it's not just that. It's over the next 7, 10, maybe even 2 weeks. Exceptionally high chances for rain and high rainfall totals in those areas. Jamaica, it's a 50% chance for my friends there. Again, the Dominican Republic, about a 40% chance through Monday, a little bit lower on Tuesday. Puerto Rico, 50% chance today. Slowly tails off as that Saharan dust comes into play, a little bit more of a factor. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, scattered showers, again, a little bit lower on Tuesday. Bermuda, again, not a lot of rain overall over the next 3 days. Anguilla, slightly higher ahead of the next wave. So the next wave comes in, late Monday, you get a better chance for rain, but with the Saharan dust tailing that feature, we start to undercut the rain chances again on Tuesday. Same thing for St. Martin. Antigua, Barbuda, again, ahead of that ahead of that next Saharan dust, you'll get a better chance for showers a little bit lower on Tuesday. Not as much for Guadeloupe and Barbados. Few showers for Grenada. Decent chance again. Good showers today in Trinidad and Tobago. Lower there, beginning on Monday and Tuesday. Suriname again, slightly higher chances there for you in Guyana. And then the ABC Islands look to unfortunately be relatively dry. Let's take a look at what that tropical impact is going to do to the waves. If you look off of the coastlines of the Bahamas, you're going to see some wave impacts there coming in midweek. That's Wednesday and Thursday right there at the tail end of that. So again, we could have some 7, 8, 9, maybe 10-foot waves along the Gulf Stream. Obviously, we're going to have some high wave impacts for the Texas coastline, northern Mexico there on the western Gulf of Mexico. The next tropical wave coming in through the eastern sides of the Caribbean could also spell some 7 to 8 foot waves. Those are the areas in green, and extremely impressive wave heights across the Pacific side of the Caribbean. Again, it's all onshore flow, which is why they're going to have some significant rainfall totals, because it's going to take all that moisture and pin it up along the coast. Okay, now it's time to look at rainfall totals. And I want to remind you that you are only looking at rainfall here in the GFS model over the next 5 days. And just to point out again that this model will stop at 14 inches. And we can take a look at the European model coming up. But it's unbelievable to note here on this scale that we're going to have towards San Salvador and Tegucigalpa, Guatemala City, excessive rainfall there, and that really just follows down here. Look, portions of Panama, Costa Rica, several more inches of rain there, but everyone through Central America is going to have relatively hefty rainfall totals. I think the GFS is a little bit too low here on the northern sides of Honduras. I think it's absolutely perfect through portions of Belize. Take a look at these rainfall totals. Just the next 5 days, guys. Just the next 5 days. Maybe another half foot of rain. By the way, in inches, 25 millimeters is 1 inch. So 6 inches of rain is 150 millimeters. And I'll show you the European millimeter rainfall totals coming up in just 1 second. Going to cover all my friends here, both in inches and millimeters. Look at that. I mean, could we get 6, 7, 8 inches of rain on the northern tip of the Yucatan? It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible here in the development zone in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. And again, you can see some of that very heavy rain, and we could have some flooding and surge issues here in South Texas, but extremely heavy rainfall totals in the areas that's going to stay aggressively wet. Now, the GFS model has always been undercutting the rain too much in the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. Still doing it, still showing you that. But here's what I would say. You see how this rich moisture axis on the GFS is just to the west of you? That's what's going to hit the islands, guys. We're going to get a few more inches of rain in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands as well. And again, we can clearly see where the GFS model takes our next fast-moving potential tropical depression right through Grand Bahama, Walker's Key, and into East Central Florida. And south of there, if you note, remember the wind fields were much weaker towards South Abaco and Bimini and New Providence and Andros and Eleuthera. Again, we may not have a ton of rain impacts, certainly some higher surf and sea conditions and some wind impacts, but that would be about it. Now again, it's going to be kind of spotty in nature, but these downpours developing with the tropical waves could still do some good for my friends in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So even though we're talking about an overall drier forecast, we could still get some decent rain totals here. It may just be a lot more spotty in nature, right? Again, still the same thing for our friends in the British and U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and through the northern side of the Lesser Antilles. Again, we're not going to have high totals here, but we're not talking about nothing either. So it's good to see, and just kind of broad brushing this, that opportunity. Obviously, the model is going to favor the eastern sides of the islands here because we're going to be getting a little bit more of that easterly push with the trade winds, and the winds could be picked up here as well. Barbados, again, maybe an inch of rain over the next 5 days. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, about the same number, and potentially higher totals close to Trinidad and Tobago. Again, you get towards the actual northeast sides of South America, and those numbers are going to be a lot higher. But zooming out, you get that idea. Bermuda basically misses that heavier moisture off towards the east. So very wet western, southwest areas, drier, but still some okay rainfall totals in portions of the greater Antilles. European model, it's about the same. First of all, let me get back to the camera real quick. Again, highlight here portions of the Pacific coastline of Central America. We're pinging, by the way, 400-500 millimeters of rain over just the next 7 days. So you're looking at very, very high rainfall totals there. For portions of the Yucatan, that's 250 millimeters of rain near Cancun and Cozumel. It's going to be wet. Belize City, there. Again, the bottom line is throughout this area, you should expect a good chance for rain every day with at least some fresh winds, a lot of tropical downpours. Notice the European model is wetter in the Cayman Islands. It's slightly drier than I expected here in Jamaica. That being said, it's still wetter than the GFS. And again, some okay rainfall totals for most of the greater Antilles. Windward Islands doing okay. And you can just see that little bullseye there on the far northwest side of the Bahamas. Again, fast moving system, regardless of how it develops. So it's not going to impact one area for any huge length of time. Let me come back on camera real quick, guys. I forgot that's my last slide. We're going to do it. Listen, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing here to Meteo Mundo. You know I'll keep you updated. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow with the latest on those tropical areas and the forecast in your area as well. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you tomorrow right here at Meteo Mundo.